From childhood trauma to being abandoned by your own family, these are 10 of the saddest, most emotional episodes of Gumball. Starting with the heart, which dives into a side of Mr. Robinson we've never seen before. The episode starts like usual, with Gumball and Darwin hanging out with Mr. Robinson, who, for some reason, they absolutely adore, even though this man couldn't care any less about them. And this is proven when Mr. Robinson goes inside and calls his wife Margaret, telling her how big of suckers they are because he's been tricking them into doing free labor, and he doesn't even remember their names.
Wait, who was I talking about?
And as you can see, this hit Gumball and Darwin like a truck. For them, this man was like family, someone they genuinely loved. But after Gumball and Darwin realize that they've been being used all along, they go back into their house and completely cut off Mr. Robinson. At first, Mr. Robinson is thrilled. He finally got what he wanted, peace and quiet, and most of all, no more annoying kids following him around. But as time passes, he starts noticing little things that he used to do with Gumball and Darwin, like putting their message to Santa in the garbage, not helping them while they're drowning, giving them dog treats instead of Halloween candy, and so much more. Then it hits for real when Gumball and Darwin are now the ones who close the blinds on him. Mr. Robinson knows that things will never be the same until he gets the genius idea to brainwash them.
What did you do? I followed the advice online. Turns out it's illegal to alter the minds of children using Cold War CIA techniques.
Then his son Rocky gives him the advice to do some lighthearted pranks to gain their trust back, which Mr. Robinson takes way too literally.
Dad, please, stop.
I know I'm not cut out for prison. There were some real tough cookies in there. They didn't even give us any milk to dunk them in.
Why don't you just be nice to the kids and give them some toys or something?
But surely his advice to give him toys can't go wrong.
Please don't tell me I needed to specify children's toys.
This time I got arrested for violating 14 international peace agreements.
Rocky then finally gives his dad some advice that doesn't end up with him in prison. So Mr. Robinson goes up to the heartbroken Gumball and Darwin, and this is what he has to say.
You got massive hips.
What? I don't think Mr. Robinson is physically capable of giving a compliment. His whole life was spent being negative, but now things are about to change. Gumball expresses his true feelings about why Mr. Robinson upset him that day. And after Mr. Robinson hears this, he tries to cry, but physically can't. And when Gumball and Darwin notice this, they try to see what's going on. And they find Mr. Robinson's heart literally isn't letting him cry. So Gumball and Darwin decide to force feed Mr. Robinson's heart so much love that it never fears it again. And after they sing him a song, his heart finally slightly changes its ways. At least enough for it to finally be able to shed a tear. I've always appreciated Gumball for its versatility. It's one of those shows that can be silly and goofy whenever it wants, but it still has the ability to pull you in for those close emotional moments and lock you in. And these later seasons of the show really start to experiment with getting a little bit more serious and diving deep into the inner feelings and drama between characters. And the episode The Father, coming in at number 9, is one of the best examples of this. So it starts off with Frankie Watterson, aka Richard's dad, randomly showing up to their house after years of being gone. Now, you'd think this would be some wholesome family reunion, but no, it turns out that they knew he was coming, and Richard's whole family planned to make this moment as embarrassing as possible for him. But Richard, being the special little snowflake he is, was completely unaware that his family was doing this to humiliate him.
With his one black eye and his pointed nose and an outfit straight from 80s cop shows, he's a liar and a rogue and a sponger and a thief. He'll take away your happiness and fill you full of grief. Here he comes, the Burning Man. He's always ready with a trick or a scam.
Where's the candy?
And after he finds out the reason they set this up, Richard goes into a deep state of depression. Gumball, Darwin, and Anais don't want to see their dad like this, so they try various things to cheer him up, like playing rock music. But the only thing that seems to work is bribing him with food, which quickly turns his frown upside down. Because he is Richard Watterson, this man is built to eat food, and bro eats so much food that Larry has to be taken out by an ambulance because of all the trauma of watching him eat that much food. After this experience, they decide to go look at the clouds, which only makes Richard more sad because he keeps seeing things that remind him of his dad. For some context, if you didn't already know, Richard's dad went to get the milk when he was a very young kid, so he didn't experience a typical childhood and got babied by his mom all the way up to his adult life, which made Richard turn out the way he did. And after Gumball and the gang remember this, they get an idea. So they decide that the best way to repair their relationship is by making Richard and his dad do all of the things he should have done as father and son. So they go to Frankie's RV and they start doing all of the typical father and son activities, like stealing a football, stealing a watch, breaking into a mansion, driving a getaway car, and fishing for wallets on the highway. Frankie is a lifelong con man, and he himself doesn't even understand what a typical life is, which makes it very hard for him to connect with Richard. Gumball episodes don't usually make you feel anything after you watch them, but this one actually got me tearing up when I first watched it, and this feeling is only gonna get more intense with these later episodes on the list. Coming in at number 8, we have The Weirdo, which is an episode about trying to change yourself just to be accepted. Now, we all know Sussy, Elmore's weirdest resident. She acts completely unhinged and doesn't care about what anyone thinks. Or at least, that's what it seems. But this episode shows the truth. Sussy isn't as carefree as she seems. It starts with her doing what she always does, giving her classmates weird random gifts. She gives Gumball a handful of mayonnaise, Darwin gets a ripped up $100 bill, and everyone else gets gifts that are just as weird. And then everyone immediately throws them away, right in front of her, which makes Sussy really sad. And Gumball feels bad, so he tries to help everyone hide the fact that they're getting rid of their gifts. Later that day, bullies come up to her, but this completely backfires because she's too weird for the bullies to even have any effect on her day. Gumball sees this and is kinda lost hope for her at this point, so he gets the idea to poison the water supply so that everyone else can be as dumb as her. And after a little convincing from Darwin, they decide to just help her fit in. Aw, come on, Darwin. Gumball was really onto something with the water idea there. Anyways, then we get to see a day in Sussy's life, which is just as strange as you would expect. So then, Gumball decides the only way to fix her is by making her someone that she isn't, which makes Sussy sad. They take everything that makes Sussy Sussy and try to erase it. The worst part is, Sussy actually tries to change. She forces herself to act normal, and after Gumball and Darwin try a bunch of different ways to alter her appearance, nothing works and Sussy has a moment of realization.
Why Gumball, Darwin try change Sussy?
But then, even after being torn apart by Gumball and Darwin, Sussy still decides to give them one last gift, which turns out to be a pair of Sussy's eyes. And when Gumball and Darwin put these on, they start seeing the world the way that Sussy sees it, which actually explains a lot about why Sussy acts the way she does. And through this, it tells a story about why you shouldn't try to change yourself to impress others. We've all had moments where we don't feel like we fit in, where we thought maybe if we just acted differently, people would like us more. And the truth is, that never leads to true happiness. And that's what makes The Weirdo one of the most impactful episodes of Gumball, because Sussy never wanted to change. The world just made her feel like she had to. And if you thought this was sad, this next episode will hit even harder. Coming in at number 7, we have The Root, where the Watersons completely abandon Darwin. It all starts in the pet store, where Darwin is looking at the fishes, which reminds him of home. Nicole, trying to be a good mom, wants to help, so she looks through his browser history and finds out that he's been searching some things that she thinks implies Darwin wants a better home. And after finding out she's tech savvy enough to look through browser history, the boys all immediately go destroy their computers. Honestly, I can't blame them. Anyways, Nicole comes to the conclusion that Darwin isn't happy living in their home anymore, which makes them all super angry because they don't want to get rid of Darwin. So they decide if they can't take Darwin back to his world, why don't they try and bring his world to him. So they first do this by making him eat live worms. And when he doesn't like that, Richard tries to make him eat fish hooks. And of course, the only person down bad enough to eat those is Richard. Hey, I guess they have a lot of nutritional ingredients in them, like iron. And then they try a bunch more disgusting things, like eating dead skin off Richard's foot and a literal bag of mercury. But Darwin has had enough of them acting like this and storms off into his room. They start going way too deep into this idea that Darwin needs to reconnect with his roots, even though he's actually never said that. And then they start changing everything about their home, trying to make it more fish friendly. They wear scuba gear, they play whale sounds in the background, and they literally throw him outside into the dirt, all for him to connect with his roots. All of this because they think Darwin doesn't feel like he belongs, which is actually just making Darwin feel that exact thing. At first, he goes along with it, trying not to upset them, but then he starts realizing what they're actually saying, that maybe deep down they don't see him as one of them. Darwin never wanted anything more than to be a Watterson. He loves his family more than anything in the world, and now for the first time ever, he starts questioning it. Do they see me as one of them, or am I just a pet to them? The family keeps following him around as he's trying to get a break from the craziness by hanging out with Banana Joe, but they end up following him, which just makes Darwin even more upset. And if you thought that somehow couldn't get worse, the Wattersons then come to the conclusion that Darwin would be happier back in the water, so they take him to a pond and let him go. And this is where the episode goes from sad to heartbreaking. Darwin is so confused. He's standing there watching his own family drive away, realizing that they truly believe he doesn't belong with them. But Darwin doesn't take this and instantly chases them back to catch up with them. And it turns out this whole time it was just a big misunderstanding. He just wanted a giant fish tank. That's it. He just saw a super cool fish tank in the mall and wanted to guilt trip Nicole into buying it for him. And this moment is perfect because even after everything, the Wattersons don't get mad at him and everything goes back to normal. And they even end up getting a better understanding of Darwin. But this doesn't even compare to what Darwin goes through in a later episode on this list. But now for one of my favorites, coming in at number 6, we have the hero. Now, we all know that Richard Watterson is one of the dumbest, laziest, most childish dads in animation history. He eats, sleeps, and avoids responsibility like it's an Olympic sport. And because of that, Gumball and Darwin sometimes make fun of him at school. And when Richard overhears this, it completely emotionally breaks him. This gets Gumball and Darwin in hot water with their mom Nicole, who is not happy ever since she found out that they're making fun of their dad. And through their argument, it gets revealed that Richard is now hiding in the shed. So after being grounded for multiple days and not even being able to shower, Gumball and Darwin are forced to apologize to their dad. And when they look inside, they see a nailed board between his legs, which makes Gumball not take him seriously at all. But when Darwin looks back inside, he sees his dad singing a sad song about how Gumball and Darwin used to respect him when they were just little kids.
I remember when you were still little, my little ones. I was the giant who picked you up when you fell down.
And they looked at him like he was a hero. And now that they're all grown up, they don't really respect him the same anymore, which makes Richard really sad. But after listening to the song, Darwin realizes that the only way to make up with his dad is by giving him the opportunity to feel like a hero again. So Gumball and Darwin go to the junkyard and get themselves into a bad situation on purpose to try to have Richard save them. But the problem is their safety button they had just in case something went wrong gets stuck to the roof of the car and they can't get it off. So now it's actually up to Richard to save them. And of course, in typical Richard fashion, he messes up in as many ways as possible. But like usual, he somehow manages to pull it all together and get something to work, eventually saving the kids, making them feel like he's a hero again. But it's not over yet because he still hasn't saved Gumball. And while he's trying to walk over the ladder into his dad's arm carefully so they don't get crushed in the junk box, box. Gumball gets flashbacks to when he was just a kid trying to walk into his dad's arms, which gets him to safety in the end, giving Gumball a newfound respect for his father. But now we're on to the top 5, and if you thought these episodes were already sad, you've literally seen nothing. Coming in at number 5, we have The Shell. And this episode is brutal in the ways it deals with insecurity, self-acceptance, and the fear of rejection. It starts at a school play, and when it gets to the end, Gumball and Penny have to kiss, but Gumball fumbles it so hard. Instead of kissing her, he headbutts her, and in doing so, he cracks her shell, which doesn't seem like a big deal until we learn that this isn't just a peanut shell. It was actually a mask who was hiding who she really is. Gumball then notices something weird in there, but Penny just blows it off and then tries to cover it up. But eventually, Penny decides it won't work, so she's forced to tell her dad what happened. And as you would expect, her dad is not happy when she finds out about this. So much so to where she kicks the kids out of their house. Gumball then goes home sobbing into his pillow because he knows it's all his fault. But then Penny shows up to his window, and she tells Gumball that her dad is making her move to another school.
What the what?
Sheesh, if this wasn't already bad enough, things just got a whole lot worse. After some time, Gumball finally convinces Penny to break out of her shell and just to be her true self. And suddenly, Penny transforms right in front of everyone. She turns into this glowing, altered, fairy-like creature with wings. Gumball thinks she's beautiful, but Penny doesn't see it that way. And because of this, she starts shape-shifting uncontrollably, turning into different creatures with each one reflecting how she feels. A big, terrified beast when she's scared, and a tiny, fragile creature when she's vulnerable. She's completely losing control, and it's all because she's convinced that no one will ever accept her for who she really is. Gumball tries to chase Penny around town, and when he finally finds her in the forest, we get one of the most emotional moments in the show.
But do you really think you could love?
That's not what you are. It's just how you feel. And this is how I feel.
That's what makes this episode so powerful, because it's not just about Gumball and Penny's relationship, it's about learning to accept yourself, even when you're scared that the world won't. Penny was trapped in her shell for years, convinced she had to hide who she was just to be loved. But the truth is, she never needed the shell in the first place. But if you thought this was heartbreaking, this next episode on the list will hit even harder. Coming in at number 4 is The Parents, an episode where we finally get to see what Nicole's traumatizing childhood was like. It starts with Nicole fighting off her kids putting junk food in the cart, which just seems like a random way to start the episode, but it really introduces how essential she is in her family. This is especially shown when she literally sniffs out a good deal, and when she pulls it out, it breaks down the shelf, and Nicole accidentally runs into her parents who are also sniffing out a good deal. And the second she sees them, her entire energy shifts, she freezes, tenses up, and looks shook, which is weird because Nicole is never like this. She can handle anything, but the second her parents show up, she's back to acting like a kid trying to impress them. We see this even more when for some reason, the kids invite the parents over to their house for lunch, which as we will see later is a big mistake, because the second her parents Danielle and Mary walk through the door, you can just feel the tension. The atmosphere is so thick that they literally cut through it with a knife, and then it starts. They immediately start judging Nicole, making passive-aggressive comments about her life. They talk about how she could have been so much more, and after a bunch more arguing, we learn a lot about Nicole's childhood, like the way they dressed her when she was a child, and how her first name isn't even Nicole. Her actual first name is Doctor, and her middle name is Nicole. They had insane standards for her. They even made her join every single school club at the same time.
That's a foul, Dr. Nicole.
Why?
It wasn't a karate match. It was a drama club rehearsal of Madame Butterfly. That was the karate.
You know what? After seeing this, it makes a lot of sense why Nicole is the way she is today. And as you could guess, they also heavily disapprove of her relationship with Richard. So much so to the point where they're trying to set her up with people in a higher tax bracket. In this episode, we learn a ton more things, like how her parents sent her divorce papers for her anniversary, and Nicole sent her mom retirement leaflets for her 50th birthday. And by far the worst thing, Nicole's parents literally even tried shipping Richard to Guatemala, and so many more things just to show that Nicole's relationship with her parents is just absolutely horrible and beyond repair. And although they eventually do start to slightly begin accepting each other and take a first step in repairing their relationship over a montage of Gumball singing a song about their relationship.
Well done, Gumball.
You really summed up their relationship with each other and helped them reconnect.
What's that now? You know, if it's too hard to forgive, then just give.
That wasn't about them. That was about the Christmas presents they owe us.
Okay, maybe not, but we get to see even more of Nicole's parents in the third Saddest episode, The Choices, which starts with the Wattersons being absolutely ridiculous like always and begging for food, while Nicole is working as fast as she can to get it ready. But while Nicole is trying her best, everyone else loses brain cells apparently and starts doing absolutely ridiculous things, like Richard messing up his own part of the cooking, and the boys stop, drop, and rolling when there's a fire in the pan. They fan the flames, quite literally, and Darwin squirts whipped cream on Nicole while trying to put out the fire. This all leads to Nicole literally reaching her breaking point until she pauses time to think about how her choices in life led her to this situation. And then she realizes what caused all of this. The day she met Richard. We cut to her parents in the car when she was younger, and they have such high expectations for her because they literally get mad at her for having an effing gender. But that is literally just because she's a girl. They then get stuck in traffic and Nicole needs to get out of the car and run if she wants to make it to her karate tournament. So she goes through the park until she meets Richard. Or more accurately, she finds Richard stuck inside of a tree log. Because of course he is. And at that moment, she had a choice. And now she's wondering if she made the wrong one. This is where the episode gets really deep because she starts imagining all of the different lives she could have had. A life where she became a successful champion, but alone. A life where she married Banana Bob, but he never stopped singing and she completely lost her mind. A life where she married Harold Wilson, but he turned out to be horribly controlling and she became unrecognizable to who she really was. A life where she followed Mr. Small's quote spiritual enlightenment, but she died. And a bunch of other choices that would have literally led to her death. And with each life she imagines, the message becomes clearer and clearer. None of them feel right, because every single version of her life is missing something. It's missing love. It's missing chaos. It's missing her family. It's missing Richard. Richard was the first person who didn't care about how strong, smart, or successful she was. He just loved her for her. And then we finally see the montage of her life with her wedding, raising her kids, and all of the messy, chaotic, beautiful moments from marrying Richard. Though we see some sad things like her parents not showing up to her wedding and how both Richard and Nicole's parents kicked him out of the house. And that's when she realizes it. She never made the wrong choice. Because yeah, her life is insane. She's stressed out 24/7, and Richard is the biggest idiot on the planet. But she wouldn't change a thing, because this is the life she was meant to have. And that's what makes The Choices one of the most powerful episodes in Gumball history. Because it's not just about Nicole reflecting on her past. It's about her finally accepting it. But I'm sure a lot of you guys have been waiting for it. Coming in at number 2, we have The Origins Pt1. It starts with Gumball being a complete menace, causing absolute chaos for no other reason than the fact that he can. This has to be the most energetic kid I have ever seen. Like, a bro literally can't even sit still for a second. In an attempt to calm him down, Richard gets him a pet fish, and this instantly makes him stop acting crazy. And Gumball gets an immediate connection to this fish, naming him Darwin. But as we will see later, this is not the real Darwin, because after every time, Gumball keeps finding ways to kill this fish. And because Richard and Nicole want him to be normal, they just keep buying him new ones. But then, eventually, Richard buys every single fish in town. But when all hope seems lost, Richard finds a sketchy van that is selling one last goldfish. But this one is different, and this is where we see the absolutely adorable tiny Darwin. But then, something weird happens. When Richard brings in the new version of Darwin to Gumball, Darwin starts watching him, and not just in the way a normal fish does, he starts copying him. And when Gumball moves, Darwin does the same thing. When Gumball makes a face, Darwin mirrors it, but this is where things start to go horribly wrong. Gumball and Darwin decide to play a prank on their parents by having Darwin play dead, but Richard sees this as just another typical dead fish. But Gumball runs inside just in time and thankfully saves Darwin, just before he got flushed down the toilet. Everything seems like it's going good, until Darwin reveals he can speak, which scares Nicole and Richard so bad that they accidentally drop him and flush him down the toilet. But thankfully, this picks up in the #1 saddest Gumball episode of all time, the Origins Pt2, where he gets thrown all the way out into the ocean and reconnects with his fish brothers to try to get back to Elmore. When he tells them his plan though, they think he's crazy, but Darwin believes through the power of love, anything is possible. And then he literally adapts his body and it starts evolving, giving him lungs, which allows him to crawl on land.
I'm on my way. I've got my lungs and that's a start, and I've got love inside my heart. I'm on.
And the On My Way song that Darwin sings is easily one of the most memorable and emotional moments of the show for me. It really shows how much Darwin truly loves his family. His love continues when Darwin evolves again and gets the ability to walk on land, which was very needed because bro looks like a shriveled up prune. And he just keeps pushing forward through the pain, through the exhaustion, and through every impossible obstacle along his way. But meanwhile at home, things aren't going too well for Gumball. He's sitting alone, staring at Darwin's old fishbowl completely lifeless. He knows Darwin is out there somewhere, but no one believes him. His parents tell him to move on, but he can't, because deep down, he knows Darwin is coming back. And after Darwin goes through tons of suffering, going through Elmore and trying to connect with Gumball, they finally find each other, giving one of the biggest payoffs in the show. This episode low-key had me crying a little bit, which is really rare for cartoons nowadays. And this is just one of the many reasons I think this easily takes the #1 spot. But if you want me to rank every single episode of Gumball, make sure to subscribe because at 100K, I'll do it. Oh man, wait. That's good. That's gonna be a long video. Wait, no, please don't subscribe. No, wait. Oh, what did I sign up for? Oh, fuck.